Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, camera's a bit low. Good morning. It is good to see you. I'm glad to have you here for the morning grind and here in the office with me. Are you having a good day? I hope that you are. I hope that you are. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Zero the Blade says, good morning to everyone and happy Mother's Day. Yes, let's not forget that it's Mother's Day. So we need to be appreciative of our mothers. Call your mothers. Say hello. Yesterday, I was out at a celebration of the life of the friend of mine who unfortunately had killed himself. And so also be thankful for friends. Be thankful for friends and what you have. I've been woke up this morning. I'm going to try to, we got the Kickstarter coming up. I'm feeling good about a lot of things that are coming down the pipe. So hopefully let's all appreciate what we've got and use the time that we've got and do something great with it. So good morning, everybody. Let's see. I thought that we would talk more about the Mighty Empires game today, and I want to talk about. I want to make a few notes about some of the things that I was thinking about that. Thinking about it because I was thinking about that yesterday, and then also well, ever since we started looking at Mighty Empires, I think it was 2 days ago, I've been thinking about things about it. I thought, hey, I should probably put together some notes on it. And I was thinking about it yesterday as I was in the car driving, because it takes, of course, kind of a different look at domain level play. And we should at least take some notes to see what things are about. So glad to have everybody here with us this morning. Hey, so first of all, I will put out, I'm still behind in getting some things ready for the Kickstarter, but the Kickstarter page is right there. And then also the Kickstarter preview. So if you want to take a look at the Kickstarter preview, I am a believer in no surprises Kickstarter. So everybody can take a look at the preview. If you've got questions, you can ask. If things are unclear, you can let me know. And then, oh, I don't know where is one of my books. Oh, here it is. Because I'm excited to get the things that we are creating here underway, really, with Good Night Sword. There's so many things to do. There are so many different things to do. And the Good Night Sword children's book is going to start it off. Then we'll move into some RPGs and other games and things like this. But this book has been ready for so long, it is time to actually get it out in physical hard copy to those who really would like to have it. So there is that going on. But also, let me see here. I'm going to be on the Burnett Work tomorrow. It's telling me 33 hours. So let me, I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to share the screen. That way, if you would like to join us, this is going to be Monday night. So there won't be a stream on my channel on Monday night, but that's because I'm going to be over here on Positive Fandom. That's a, I didn't roll the R appropriately. But who you will often see in the comments section on some of our streams over here. She is part of the Burnett Work, and she is going to be interviewing me about Rabavania and Good Night Sword, and that is going to be Monday night. So I'm going to put the link to this right here. Interview on the Burnett Work. Right there. That's Monday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Central. That's time, May 15th. Yes. So 7 o'clock p.m. Central on Monday. That's when that interview will be had. So I'm going to, I put that out in the announcements on the Ravenkeep Discord server as well. But what I will do is also put out an announcement when that's about to go live. So if you'd like to come by and see what's going on, I would absolutely love to have you. Hey, James. Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, James. So Monday, that'd be nice. It'd be nice sometimes to go on to other people's channels, sometimes in the evenings. So when those kinds of things happen, I will definitely let you know. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Nice to be streaming and on somebody else's channel. So, all right. Let's see. I believe that's really all that I've got to say right now. But like I said, I'm really excited about moving forward here and want to be using some of this time to maximum. And I feel like I'm way behind. I'm way behind on everything, but I feel like good things are happening. So I hope that's the same way with you. I'm going to bring up some notes or a page where I can type some notes about Mighty Empires and the domain level play in general. So we can talk about that, because I think there was a lot there. So this is going to be, share. And we can take some notes as we go. But this is notes on Mighty Empires and domain level play. Let's see if I can boost the size of that. About that. Okay, so I was noticing that in Mighty Empires, there is not city building. Now, we might end up with some rules as we go by, but it seemed like that it was not right for that timeline. It seemed like the timeline not really allow that. And sometimes when you're talking about castles, building castles, you're talking about years anyway. And so it seems like what they did is they just made this game really about playing a campaign of Warhammer, which I think is potentially just fine because, like I said, what do you want to get to? You want to get to the fun stuff. And so this game is definitely about moving armies and going to try to conquer your neighbors and doing stuff like that. There's not as much about there's the logistics of the armies. See, I like the foraging rules or foraging sustenance rules. We had something similar in War of Kings. How do we spell sustenance rules? And then also baggage rules. Excuse me. So you did have to deal with the logistics of your armies, but you weren't dealing with things beyond that. You weren't trying to deal with the logistics of your entire kingdom. Mighty Empires. I do think the battle rules in Mighty Empires needed more. Sure, yes, you can go play it out on the battlefield on the tabletop using the Warhammer rules. But if you're not doing that, I thought that the rules for the battles in Mighty Empires was a little bit simplistic. It needed more. In fact, could maybe benefit from adding in some of the GURPS mass combat. Not all of them, but could benefit from adding in some of the GURPS combat mass combat considerations. Would want to investigate if some of the gameplay could be simultaneous. I'm a fan of simultaneous gameplay because I like people to be playing and not sitting around waiting for their turn. So when we're able to do things like good in War of Kings, where we move things into simultaneous gameplay, I like that. And like specifically commanding armies. As everybody go around the table. But like in diplomacy, you're writing down all of your orders for your armies. But you could do it by writing it down, such as maybe take inspiration from the Game of Thrones board game. That we talked about briefly. It has it uses tokens that you put by your army to indicate its action. And everybody does that simultaneously, and then you reveal all of your tokens, and then everybody resolves the movement and whatever else those armies are doing simultaneously. So I kind of like that, and I would want to look at, can we do something like that? And could we even optimize the game for asynchronous play? This seems like the kind of game that should be able to do that fairly easily. So that could be done. So for instance, it could be done by play by post. Everyone can give orders to their armies by post and then have the actions resolved by an adjudicator, by a referee or an adjudicator of the game. One of the problems with that is there are parts of the game that require the player to make decisions, or player or players, or like when you're in combat with one another, make multiple quick decisions. And that would slow down asynchronous play. That would slow down some type of play by post. Is anybody, what else are you thinking? You have any thoughts on this? Thoughts on Mighty Empires or sort of gamist domain level play? I did notice, so it's missing, appears at the moment, appears to be missing interactions other than combat. So I did potentially like what GURPS was trying to do there with its realm management, that it allowed you to try to do things to other kingdoms that weren't necessarily sending an army in to invade it. So I kind of liked that. I don't know that, like I said, we didn't think it was executed all that elegantly, but I kind of like that. And then depending on the scale, like for instance, if it's, I don't remember how, I don't know exactly how long you're playing here. We know in War of Kings, see, we had resources and we had building out castles and villages, and then upgrading your villages to cities, and then upgrading your towns to villages, and then villages to cities. But we never really nailed down a timeline for that. Like what exactly, how much time does a turn actually take? That was very nebulous, because yes, you could build a whole castle if you wanted to. Now you had to build walls first, and then walls could become a fortress, and then a fortress could become castles. So it would take 3 turns if you actually wanted a castle. So that was something about taking the amount of time, increasing the amount of time. But it was still kind of nebulous. So we don't have, here's missing interactions other than combat. I like having multiple types of resources. Which at the moment seems to be missing. Now we've got to go to the winter turn. Now cool stuff may happen in the winter turn in Mighty Empires, so we'll think about that. Like having multiple types of resources. And constructing non-combat parts of the empire. Oh, I also do like, one of the things that we thought about doing when we briefly thought about returning, well, it's missing the RP. Yeah. This is definitely on the gamist side of things. You see, it depends on how much. See, the reason I was thinking that, well, you could move to a more gamist. You can move to a more gamist type of game, more gamist type of game. So how much time do you want to spend on this upper level? Which is going to vary. In fact, I think actually some of the information in the rules cyclopedia, if you're going sort of simulationist, may have been better than some of the stuff that was in the GURPS. The GURPS tried to do all the different things that you can possibly do. But what's the least you need to know about your kingdom or your realm? And what you also need for the role-playing side of things, you would also want to be able to start small. For an actual character creating a realm, you would need to be able to start small. And I guess a lot of time there and build over time. For the game purposes of Mighty Empires, it moves you much further into your realm building than starting small with some small keep if your fighter just turned level 9. It gives you a nice realm and an army and stuff like that to actually do stuff with from the very, very beginning. I also like the idea that cities will swap allegiances when you scout them is strange to me. I'd have to see how it works in play, but it seems like you would actually need to invade it in order to get that to happen. I like the scouting, the reconnoitering, but I guess I just have to see how that plays. Because if there aren't actually armies there, then cities surrender and they will swap over. But you don't even have to move your army into the territory. At least that was my understanding as we were reading. And I also like the War of Kings idea. I like differentiating political control from we're calling it culture of the settlement. So just because so we did that in War of Kings by having different colors for the towns, cities, and villages, and you never swapped out that actual village. So in this one, it seemed like, okay, if you conquer the city, then you take your color token for a city and replace it on that tile. But we had both territory markers that indicated political control, and then also had the color of the town. And there were the town color indicated whose culture it was, but then the political control marker indicated whose political control it was under. And of course, if you're building one that is both your culture and it's under your political control. But if you go and conquer somebody else, then you take political control of it, but it doesn't necessarily make it yours, because the other person then can liberate it. Because I like that. I like being able to distinguish between those things. This allows you to deal with governing an empire. In fact, I would want to put more of that, more significance on that with governing an empire, and also liberating your own settlements. As in they welcome you back. They welcome you back rather than fighting or resisting you. Oh, I like siege. That's one thing that we were missing from War of Kings. I like having siege in here. Am I spelling that backwards? Okay, yes. I like having siege that lasts over multiple turns. I do like that. I would like to have different troop types. There were just armies in War of Kings, the original. But if we went back to look at it, we had talked about having different troop types. And I would try to work that in again. So right now, Mighty Empires, on its highest level, only has points of banners. But I like some of the ideas from GURPS that when you're what's other things that you could add to dicing down a battle, things like superiority of troop type. That was something that was in the GURPS mass combat that I liked. But it would be nice to have a battle roster or a banner roster of troop types. And you could even move to a Axis and Allies, something like an Axis and Allies style battle resolution. That's one possible option. Now, that's probably not so great for asynchronous play. Because probably in situations like that, people don't want the whole battle to be diced down and then returned to them. if there are decisions to be made in the battle, you'd either have to remove decisions from the players from the battle completely, and then say, all right, I ordered them into battle, and then I'm going to get a report back in the next post what happened in that battle. That's very operating at a high level kind of way that you. Then you could even have, actually, in that case, you could even have commander quality, so that one of your jobs is to assign higher quality commanders to different locations. So who is actually commanding individual banners or something like that. Because if you're going to get, so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to put your certain commanders in certain situations where they're going to be best at, but then they're going to dice this down and you're going to get the report back. If there's actually decisions that have to be made, probably the players are going to want to make those decisions rather than having those decisions made for them. So you're either going to have to get together for a synchronous part of the play or something else. Was this designed for RP, though? It might just be rules for campaign. It is. Was this designed for RP? It might just be rules for campaign, as in war campaign, realm management for when you're fighting actual battles. It might just be rules for campaign, as in war game campaign. Yeah, realm management for when you're in between battles. Yeah, it is. I know. That's what I'm talking about here. So this is definitely going in a gamist direction. Well, first of all, like I was saying, can you use this? Could you use this? Because I thought that the GURPS thing was over the top, and there was everything that you need to know about your kingdom, but probably more than you need to know about your kingdom. Could you take something like what was going on with Mighty Empires, and could you integrate that into something like running your kingdom or running your realm for domain level play? On the other hand, could you use this for asynchronous play if you're just trying to run kingdoms? Because I was talking about that when we were talking about the rule cyclopedia and also the GURPS realm management. Well, what if you just played a game where you were managing realms? Could you do that asynchronously? Because I haven't had a whole lot of success like with asynchronous role-playing games. And the reason that you don't have asynchronous, it seems like asynchronous role-playing games don't work too well, is because there's a lot of information that has to get passed back and forth to do relatively small things. Like, like fight a battle with an orc. Do you swing a sword? Do you do something like that? You got to pass that information back and forth, and it just seems like when you're trying to do that in an asynchronous environment, it just takes too long, and not a whole lot gets done. Your experience may vary, but on the realm management kind of level, could you take the realm? Could you say, hey, what type of game are we playing? We're playing a realm management type of game, and do that asynchronously. Players wouldn't be creating realms, such as the case, only controlling them. The realms already exist within the Warhammer setting. Yeah, so this game did start you out. Because that's what's the fun part? And that's what I was asking. What's the fun part? If you were playing asynchronously and you were creating realms, do you start off with, okay, here's your one guy, your fighter who just turned 9th level or something like that, and then try to grow out from there? Or do you go ahead and throw people into a larger realm and get them started that way? I was thinking that if you're in a situation where the obvious thing to do is X, like if you're just starting out and there's an obvious thing to do, then you should go ahead and just have the game start with that already done and then move to the next thing. Move to where the player actually has interesting choices and more stuff that they could potentially do, rather than building from zero. I mean, there's a certain allure at building from zero. All right, we're going to start from the very beginning. We're going to start from the very beginning, and you get one town. Like, that's how War of Kings actually originally started. You got one town sitting right there. Now, build your empire. Except for how long are you going to be sitting here playing this game? Now, that was a game that's intended to be played with everybody sitting at the table from beginning to end, right? So potentially, if you were doing it asynchronously and you were saying, hey, this is going to last for a lot longer, then, hey, you could start with next to nothing. But does that give you viable, fun options from the very beginning? Now, maybe it does. Depends on how the game is set up. But on the other hand, maybe like Mighty Empires, go ahead and move people a bit further into it. you know, and it gives them some additional options. That way people have different things that they can do and things that they can move around. We will see. The over here, sieges that last multiple turns. I was going to say troop types. Oh, I would like to have different troops types. Now this is in line with mass combat, the GURPS mass combat, and also D&D rule cyclopedia. So I might have some other notes, but those were kind of what I thought about what I had been thinking about sort of as notes after having gone through the rules cyclopedia, GURPS, realm management, and then starting with Mighty Empires. And also thinking about this in the context of War of Kings as well. Because, you know, the rules cyclopedia and also it seemed like realm management, well, and mass combat, did sort of assume that players could be on the other side of each other, you know, hiding information from another player, what kind of other information they were going to have to reveal to a player. That was part of both the cyclopedia and the rules cyclopedia and realm management. Well, and mass combat as well. Okay, let's go over and try to finish. Here's our Mighty Empire rules. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to add some more notes in there as we go. Because we're about to get to sieges. So let's see what's going on with sieges. And see, that's something that I really wished. Oh, and also I want to be able to add, we're going to see what's going on with naval forces. But I would want to be able to include naval forces. In the game as well. Kind of like how I was thinking that, well, you know, I've said before that if you're playing a role-playing game, there's nothing wrong with starting at 0 level. Like you can make 0 level or first level rather weak. You know, you're starting out at the very beginning and all of that. But then you're much more capable at level 8 or whatever it is. It should be easy to be able to just go create a level 8 character. Because if you're sitting down for a one-shot, you've got some type of module or game module you've always wanted to play through, and you're going to do it as a one-shot with some friends, but it's for 8th level or it's for 12th level or whatever it is. You should be able to sit down, create those characters, and get playing. The same kind of thing I'm thinking with some type of realm management level game. Maybe you could start from, all right, this is going to be part of our role-playing game. This is going to be the way that we're going to this is the way we're going to run the realm, rather than trying to do GURPS realm management. Fewer options. Fewer options. But so you could start with just, all right, this is the Mott and Bailey Castle that you are out there building with your 6 other guys, and you're starting your realm. But if you actually want to start with a more advanced kingdom and just play that, then you should be able to do that too. What was I just going there? I thought of something else that was a note. So when I was talking about resources, I like having resources, and we're going to see. We might just have money. We will see what is in here in Mighty Empires, but the different resources, like just a few things, players are trying to track. You are tracking a lot in GURPS. Kind of like I have this philosophy when we're doing a role-playing game, that how many different types of resources, because I think resources are important, but how many types of resources do you actually need to manage in any particular game mode? There's probably an optimal number, and that number isn't like 10, 12, 13, something like that. It might be like 3 or 4. So that these are the things that matter. Let's track them. Well, same kind of thing here on the domain level. What's the most minimum number of resources, or what's the optimal number of resources for the player to have to track so they all are significant? it might be 3 or 4, which was kind of what we were doing in War of Kings. You had gold, so you were bringing in tax revenue for gold, but then you also had grain, cattle, timber, and stone that you were trying to manage and could trade. Okay. So sieges. Unlike battles, sieges can take several turns to resolve. When a siege is in progress, players must take care to record details of the defending and attacking forces. Sieges in all of these seem to require a lot of detail tracking, especially details of damage caused by battery and the declining baggage supplies leading to subsistence shortfalls. And the baggage is important because you can't subsist off the land when you're in siege. We remember that from last time. That you can ordinarily subsist for some number of banners on the land, but once the siege is being taken place, that neither side can subsist, so they have to have enough baggage and supplies in order to endure. Defenders' options. As soon as an attacking force enters a tile containing a defending force as well as a city or fortress, the defender may choose to retreat to their city or fortress. The defending banners are placed directly next to the city or fortress to indicate this. No battle is fought. A city or fortress can hold only a limited amount of troops. A city may hold up to 3 banners. A fortress may hold up to 2. But remember, banners also, and again, I'd have to see how this works in play, but banners are not a defined number of points. Right? There can be multiple different, it was a range. I forget what the range was. So in this case, this would be a situation where you'd want to consolidate banners as much as you could. So a city may hold up to 3 banners. A fortress may hold up to 2 in order to have more troops in there. So it's kind of odd that it does this by banner, although the subsistence is also by banner. So maybe I'll have to think about that, because you might say, well, then let's standardize the number of points of troops a banner holds. But then there are other reasons I can see to not do that. But anyway, whilst a fortress or a force that's larger than the settlement can hold, the force must be split. Some banners retreat to the settlement while the remaining banners fight a pitched battle. Whilst the fortress or city remains garrisoned, the tile remains part of the player's empire regardless of the presence of besiegers. Attacking options. Once defenders have taken refuge in a city fortress, the attackers must decide whether to remain in the tile and besiege the fortress or city, or return to the tile from whence he came. The attacking force may be reorganized into 2 or more banners. Rules on minimum and maximum banner size permitting. 1 or more of the banners can lay siege, while the remainder move back. While the remainder move back to the tile that they came from. A banner which remains and lays siege is left on the tile on the edge where it entered. A banner retreating to the tile it came from is turned around and moved onto the edge of the adjacent tile. Under siege. Once a siege has begun, the tile is declared to be under siege. Sieges can last for as many campaign turns and are unlikely to end quickly unless the attacker opts for a direct assault. When the tile is under siege, no force from any side may move through it. Okay, forces may move into the tile, but may only move out of the tile by the same edge they entered. A besieged city or fortress therefore presents a barrier to movement and continues to do so until the siege is over. While the tile is under siege, fresh besiegers can join or relieve the original besieging force. Banners belonging to other players may also enter the tile to fight a battle with the besiegers. Besieged troops take no part in the battle fought in the tile between other players. Besieged troops take no part in the battle fought between other players. However, if the new attacking force belongs to the besieged player, the defenders can rally out and join the battle. The besiegers may give up, so you're trying to break the siege. See, I do like the ability to do this. However, if the new attacking force belongs to the besiegers, okay, so the besiegers may give up the siege during any turn. His forces retreat to the tile from whence they came. The besieged force may rally out to do battle with the enemy during any turn. A conventional battle is fought as described in battles. Fortification defense value. The defensive capacity of a fortress or city depends on its fortification and how well it is garrisoned. This represents a multiple modifier applied to the value of the garrison. A city has a modifier of ×2. A fortress has a modifier of ×3. For instance, a city's garrison of 500 points is worth 500 times 2, 100 defense value. The chart below summarizes the multiplier rule. So you get a higher modifier for your fortress, but you can only hold 2 banners in it. Okay, siege tactics. An assault is resolved in the same way as a battle. Refer to the command table in the battle section. Compare the point value of the attacking force with the defense value of the fortification. Note that the defense value will be higher than the value of troops in the fortress because the garrison multiplier explained above. The attacking player cards can be used in conjunction with assaults to provide an element of skill. The defender's option may be thought of as presenting localized reaction to attacks at specific points rather than an overall strategy. For example, the withdraw card could therefore represent a withdrawal to inner defenses rather than an abandonment of the entire fortress. Similarly, a counterattack represents a sally by the group of defenders. It does not mean the entire garrison rushes out at once. The random modifier is also applied in exactly the same way as for battles. However, a different result chart is shown below. So up to 5 results. So again, remember, we're only rolling one set of dice here. We're not rolling for both the attacker and the defenders. There's only one random element. And then you modify that one roll. So up to 5, if that final roll is up to 5, it's a bloody repulse. Defender loses d6 times 50 points from the banners. Attacker loses 2d6 times 50 points. Yeah, the attacker loses a lot more here. Repulse, defender loses d6 times 50. Attacker loses d6 times 50. 9 is stormed. Defender loses entire garrison. Attacker loses d6 times 50 points. So a settlement is taken, and the model fortress city is replaced with one bearing the player's own colored flag. Any baggage, standards, war engines, and war altars of the defender are captured. C. Booty. Repulse. The attacker is repulsed from the walls. The attacker may launch a further assault that turn if he wishes, and may continue to launch assaults after the settlement is stormed, until the settlement is stormed, or until the attacker suffers a bloody repulse. See, this is also one of those options that the attacker has to make here, which you'd have to deal with if you were trying to do this asynchronously. The attacker is repulsed, but the attacker may launch further assaults on that turn if he wishes. So the attacker has to be there in order to make an immediate call on this. Bloody repulse. The attacker is thrown from the walls, and this does not end the siege, but the attacker may not launch a further assault until the following campaign turn. Battery. The attacker may forego the opportunity of assaulting the city or fortress in favor of battering it for a turn. Engines of war launch their missiles against the defenses, engineers undermine the walls, and sappers attempt to blow holes in the walls and doors. If players are using tabletop armies, then battery is only possible if a force contains stone-throwing engines, sappers, or cannons. So, of course, there were a lot of rules about creating siege engines in the D&D Cyclopedia. I wonder how you could certainly integrate some of the, like in Warhammer, of course, you can also use those on pitched battles, hauling those around. I'd have to think about, I don't know, you might have to spend a turn making siege equipment or something like that. Following a turn of battery, any assault made in the following turn is worked out with an assault bonus. The bonus is determined by rolling d6 immediately before the assault and is shown on the chart below. To benefit from this bonus, the assault must be made in the turn following the turn of a battery. Otherwise, the defenders rebuild their fortifications and make good any damage done. So 1 to 2. So you're not actually you're not affecting the number of troops. So okay, this is an entire possible damage on the next turn to the fortress. Excuse me. 1 to 2, nothing. 3 to 4 minor damage, 4 major damage, 6 breach, so you get a +3 on your assault bonus. Have to see how that works too, because there could be counter battery too, right? The besiegers could be flinging stones and stuff at the attackers, which I would want to see. I just like the idea of a siege enduring over turns, though. So let's see. Could think more on how the attacker, how battery fire works during sieges. Because it does, to me, it seems like something that should be degraded. Now here we're saying that the attacker, the defenders will repair themselves. But on the other hand, it seems like on the long haul, the attackers are going to be able to wear them down. Innerlight says, actually, James, in Mighty Empires, players can create their own realm. One of the included campaigns includes information about several races finding a new continent. See, that's how I think I would play. Like if I were potentially like going to do a fantasy kind of game, and you want to start from the beginning, like as I'm trying to think about or drawing inspiration from that kind of free form, like realm management kind of game that I played asynchronously with my brother and my uncle briefly. That was you were going out to an island. And so we weren't really concerned with like colonizing an island and setting up a new kind of empire there. So we weren't really concerned with what was going on at the home empire. But we were just managing, hey, you just landed with some stuff. So you get some stuff that was on your ships and stuff like that, and you land on this island or new continent or whatever. I think we were talking about an island. And some other people are on this island as well, and other people are landing and then go. So that's one way that you could also do it, that you could start not saying, hey, like I'm starting with just my level 9 fighter and his friends to try to build something. But hey, you've been tasked with going and integrating this island over here, this newly discovered island, into your kingdom. There could be orcs on there, or whatever else could already be on the island. But that gets you a few ships worth of gear and stuff to land and then keep going. See, I think that would be fun. I kind of think a game like that would be fun if I could come up with some way to do that well asynchronously. But see, I'm also thinking about this in terms of a way that scales, because it needs to be able to scale well. The way that we were doing this, the way we were doing that was very free form. We would even get maps back from my uncle that were like drawn in with colored pencil right there. So he was, hand drawing, but there were only 2 of us that he was running. So it wasn't that big a deal. But if you were trying to do this and you were actually trying to run multiple players, you need to be able to do this in a way that scales. And that's why, to me, the asynchronous is important. Because what if you had 50 people? Just knowing the way that you have to coordinate people, or knowing the lack of way that you can coordinate people. If they're required to get together, I think that you could probably get people together to say, hey, submit orders once a week. Maybe even faster than that, but say submit orders once a week. People could probably do that asynchronously. And then at a certain time, your kingdom either takes the do nothing or some type of conservative maneuver, or executes your orders and then is resolved and then sent it back to you. But if you've got, so you need some systematic way to adjudicate it, which is what I was going there. If it's just you and your game master and 2 or 4 people, then the game master can be extremely free form. But if you're trying to actually adjudicate a lot of people, it needs to be more systematic. James says, oh, it makes sense. I'm not terribly familiar with this book, so my assumptions were bad. I thought it applies only to known lands. New campaigns discover new lands all the time. Yes. Well, and also when it was having you, there were some rather extensive rules for putting out all the tiles, but those, that wasn't trying to get you to reconstruct some area of the Warhammer world. It was just trying to give you a good area in order to campaign in. And all those rules were there to construct some type of realistic geography. So it could be someplace new. Access Your Inner Light says, yep, sounds like a massive birthright massive birthright campaign I was in. We had 120 players, 10 DMs. Wow. Game went on for about 8 months. It was awesome. Yes. Okay. See, now also adding in more DMs. Now that's a way that you could do it too. That does sound awesome. But still, so a DM is still handling 12 players there on average. So you need some type of systematic way for the players to issue their orders. and structured from an information standpoint, an information kind of design standpoint. You would also want that to be structured, especially if you were trying to systematize how to resolve everybody's orders. I think it does sound so much fun to me. And in that case, like I was talking about how to scale this up and down, so that on different levels. So there could be enough time that if you were trying to meet, if you wanted to meet and adjudicate a battle, but also online, you can't even guarantee that people are going to be there together. You have to set it up so everybody can never meet. Nobody ever has to meet face to face. Okay, starvation. A tile containing a city or fortress normally provides sustenance. However, a siege lasts while a siege lasts, no subsistence may be claimed by either side. The defending force will have to use any baggage carried or has been stockpiled in the city or fortress. The attacker must also survive from his own baggage. Normal subsistence rules and losses from subsistence shortfalls apply to fighting forces on both sides. A city or fortress that has no baggage and therefore no means of subsistence cannot feed its civilian population. This means that the possibility of surrender under terms of betrayal. The defenders cannot meet their subsistence requirements, makes the usual deduction of troops, then roll d6. Can you stack up? Maybe I haven't really seen the rules for baggage yet, but maybe you can stockpile baggage in cities and fortresses. Would seem to make sense. D6 result, betrayal. The settlement is betrayed from within. The garrison is destroyed and the attackers occupy the city fortress without losses. Surrender. The garrison offers to surrender the settlement in return for safe conduct. If the attacker accepts, the defending force moves out of the tile into an adjoining tile. Oh, the tile does not have to belong to the defender's own empire, but routes across mountains and rivers must be scouted as normal. The besiegers occupy the settlement without further loss. The besieging player can refuse the defender's terms, in which case the siege continues. 3. Hardship. The hardships endured by the civilian population means the maintenance of defenses is neglected. Any further assaults are made with a +1 bonus on the assault chart. A succession of hardships results in an increase of bonus by +1 each time. 4+, no effect. The population hardens its resolve and stands firmly by its defenders. So Birthright did this. Most of the time, Birthright play by email campaigns, I guess, that have very structured and turn sheets, battle order sheets, etc., that each side is using. Of course, the fun part happens in the online forums and secret emails back and forth. And see, I completely believe it. It sounds like a lot of fun to me. A siege may be ended at any time if the two antagonists can agree to terms. Typical terms are the garrison may be allowed to march to an adjacent friendly tile during the player's turn, surrendering the fortress or city with the stockpiles intact. Players can negotiate details such as the surrender of any captives, standards, or war altars held by either side. Booty. Once the city fortress has been taken, any baggage stockpiled in the settlement or held by the defenders is taken by the attacker. The upper limit is 6 baggage points per banner continues to apply, and any excess is immediately lost. If using tabletop armies, then any war engines or war altars the defenders had are also captured. Engines may be used by their captors if they have spare crew to man them. Otherwise, war engines and war altars remain with their captors as part of their baggage train and are automatically sent to the capital at the end of the campaign season. The defeated force's standards are also captured by the attacker. They remain with the force's baggage until the end of the season when they are sent to the capital. Like trophy rules? Sounds like it. Raise. Armies make demands on the lands through which they move. Food for the troops, fodder for the horses, draught animals, and carts for transport, and so on. This represented by the subsistence rules, which allow banners to subsist in tiles containing settlements. Their demands may impose hardship upon the local inhabitants, but are not so great as to prevent further subsistence or to destroy the settlements. Raising a settlement is more destructive altogether. A raised settlement is looted of everything of value. All crops are harvested or destroyed. The area is stripped of its livestock, and everything that is useful to the army is taken. Once a settlement has been raised, it cannot support even its own population, and banners will be unable to gain subsistence from it. So a force may raise the settlement It is in at the end of the player's turn. The only exception is during a siege, when the settlement may not be raised until it has fallen to the besiegers. The player declares he's raising the settlement and places a raised territory marker in it. The settlement model remains in place and retains the player's colored flag marker. Tiles which have been raised don't really belong to any empire, but they retain the flag to show which player raised the tile. The player who raised the tile has their territory marker in it. The player takes baggage points equivalent to the settlement's subsistence value and places them in the force's baggage. Baggage points may be distributed among banners as the player sees fit. This represents the loot taken by troops, stripped from the field, and pilfered from the inhabitants. A banner is still subject to the usual limitations on the amount of baggage carried, and excess is immediately lost. Once a tile has been raised, it is treated as a barren area belonging to no empire. It cannot be used for subsistence and yields no revenue at the end of the year. If the tile contains a city or fortress, it cannot be defended during a siege. A raised tile remains barren until the following winter, when a test is made to restore all raised tiles. Well, this is interesting. I remember liking this when I read this years ago, so I'm glad we returned to this. Raising a tile denies its revenue and subsistence to your enemies, but it also destroys its benefit to you. A deep raid into enemy territory, raising tiles as you go, can seriously weaken his empire. This is especially true during the latter half of the season, when your enemy may have little chance to retaliate. Raising may be useful as a defensive measure. If your forces are retreating, they can deny subsistence to the enemy by raising the tile as they retreat. Such a measure may save your skin in an emergency. I like that. I don't even see Games Workshop making a game like this again. Like, we're talking about games that Wizards of the Coast no longer makes. I also loved Mordheim. Now, I did get to play that one. Mordheim and Mighty Empires. They don't make games like that anymore. The reorganization phase gives players the opportunity to restructure their forces, distribute supplies, and create stockpiles. Reorganizing banners. A force of 2 or more banners may be reorganized by transferring points between the banners. Where armies are represented by actual tabletop troops, whole units or characters may be transferred from banner to banner, but individual units may not be split. A unit of less than 5 models may be amalgamated into another unit of the same type of troops, but other units may not be amalgamated. Banners which have fallen to below 500 points must combine with another banner in the same force where possible. The result is to bring the combined banner up to the minimum 500-point value. All newly created banners must conform to the requirements that each banner has between 500 and 1,500 points. That was our banner size. So that's actually okay. So it's not up to 3,000. So it's only 500 to 1,500. So there's only a 1,000 point spread in there. I thought it was more than that. Also, at least one character in between 1 and 5 units. Oh, so it's between 1 and 5 units if you're tracking units. All changes to the composition of a banner must be recorded and the point values adjusted accordingly. Baggage may be freely distributed between the banners of a force. No single banner may possess more than 6 points of baggage, and any excess that cannot be stockpiled is lost. So baggage points held by a banner may be transferred to a city or fortress in the same tile to create a stockpile. So cities and fortresses. A city or fortress may hold a stockpile of up to 6 points of baggage. Okay, so that's how you endure a siege. So if you've got extras, you can put them in a stockpile of a city or fortress. I like that. Baggage counters are placed in the tile next to the settlement piece. A banner may subsist from a stockpile in the same tile instead of using its own baggage. In the case of a siege, only the defender may subsist in this way. Baggage from stockpile may be transferred to any banners in the tile during reorganization. If a city or fortress falls to another player, its stockpile is captured by him. Captured baggage can also be left in the stockpile or placed with the conquering force. Stockpiles may be deliberately destroyed by a friendly banner in the tile, but not if the tile has no banners in it. If a settlement is raised, its stockpiles are liberated and distributed among the occupying force together with the additional baggage points yielded from raising itself. Any baggage points the force cannot carry are lost. Once the settlement has been raised, it cannot be used to stockpile further supplies. Hey, Stray. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Innerlight says, there are tons of out-of-print stuff that's tons more fun than anything being made today. That's why I have high hope for independent publishers who might be able to go back to these in some way. Well, I agree. Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking about doing the rewriting some of the stuff I was writing for the OSR. So, ships and war at sea. The Mighty Empire's campaign game is not primarily concerned with action at sea, but provision has been made for it. Fleets can transport troops across the water, but it's also possible to resolve naval battles in an abstract manner compared to that used for sieges. At the time of writing, there's no Warhammer naval combat game, and it's not therefore possible to resolve naval conflicts by means of a tabletop war game. However, players who may find the... Now, I think Man of War came later. So there did end up being that. However, players who find the idea appealing may wish to design their own model ships and game rules that can fight naval battles. We have done this ourselves on several occasions with very satisfactory results. So each ship model represents not one ship, but a small fleet of craft assorted size and type. Ships may occupy the water portion of any coastal map tile. There's no maximum limit to the number of ships models that may be placed in a tile, although it may be necessary to have a single model represent several if there are insufficient place for a large fleet. Ships cannot be moved off the map into the imagined area of open sea. There's no need to provide subsistence for ships, as assumed they collect fresh water supplies from the coast as they pass, sending out small boats to forage and buy provisions. If the ship is carrying a banner, then the player must provide subsistence from its baggage in the normal way. Ships may move one tile during the player's turn. As long as the ship remains at sea, it may enter any coastal tile, even a tile occupied by enemy land forces or belonging to another empire. The passage of the ship does not affect possession of the coastal territory unless the tile is unknown and the ship is carrying a banner as noted below. Unoccupied ships may not scout, so it may not acquire territory. Ships which are carrying a banner may scout coastal tiles using the normal coastal scouting table. It's assumed the army is sending out small landing parties to explore the terrain. Innerlight says, after this, it might be interesting to find the rules for a Hex Battle Realm game. I think it was called Empire. It even had its own miniatures back in the day. The rules are still interesting to use. Empire. Okay. There were a lot of those. It would be nice to be able to branch out. There's still some other role-playing games that are on the list to look at. But I'm also enjoying kind of branching out here to a different type of game. Let's see. We probably have a few other physical things to look at over there too. Lots of things to look at. So, engaging enemy ships. If a ship enters a tile containing an enemy ship counter, either side may attempt to bring the other to battle. Note, however, that both sides may choose not to fight, in which case they both occupy the tile peacefully. To bring the enemy ship to battle, both sides roll a d6. The highest scoring side has outsailed the other and may decide whether to force battle or not. If no battle is fought, all ships remain in the tile and may move away in their following turn. In this situation, rival ships may occupy the same tile without fighting. Naval engagement chart. Battles at sea are resolved by means of the chart below. Both sides add up the number of friendly ship models in the tile. If either side has banners on board its ships, those are added to the total. For example, if a force of 2 ships and 2 banners is fighting, the total is 4. Both sides add the score of a d6 to their total. Okay, so in this case, both sides are rolling d6. Difference in score, 0. Both sides sustain no losses. 1. Lower scoring side is driven off. The higher scorer may move the lower scoring ship 1 tile along the coast. If this is impossible because the ships are at the end of the map, the lower scorer is destroyed. The lower score is driven off as 1 above. In addition, any banners carried by the losing side lose d6 times 50 points of troops. The lower scorer suffers 1 random ship destroyed together with all on board. The remaining ships are driven away. The lower side loses all ships on board. That's a difference of 4+. That's not a roll of 4+. That's a difference of 4+. Harbors. Any city with a coastal map tile or river valley map tile which ends in the coast automatically has a harbor. Ships at sea with a map tile which contains a harbor may be put into harbor during their turn. This does not affect their normal movement, so it's possible to move into a tile and into a harbor on the same turn. Similarly, ships in harbor at the start of their turn may put to sea and then move 1 further tile during their turn. If a ship attempts to enter a harbor already occupied by an enemy ship, there will be a naval battle. Neither side may avoid the engagement in this situation. If the result is a draw, the attacker remains in the tile, but is moved out to sea. The presence of a ship in a harbor does not affect the possession of the tile, so a ship from one empire may lie in the harbor of another, but have no effect on the tile's ownership. Transporting troops. A banner. And so what's the advantage of being... Oh, defended harbors. So I was like, what's the advantage of being in a harbor then? Transporting troops. A banner entering a tile which contains a friendly ship in a harbor may be placed on the ship. A banner entering a tile which contains a friendly ship in a harbor may be placed on the ship. The player can do this by making a note or by placing the banner directly next to the ship counter. A ship counter can only hold one banner. A banner may only embark if its way to the harbor is not blocked by terrain or besieging forces. If the city is besieged, the banner will not be able to enter until it has fought the defended besiegers. If mountains lie between the banner and the city, a route roll will have to be made to cross them. A ship which enters a harbor in that turn may disembark its banner immediately. The ship already in harbor may disembark its banner and then take its move as normal. So maybe you can only get banners on and off at harbors? Defended harbors. Banners disembarking onto a tile are treated exactly like those entering from adjacent land tile. If the city already contains enemy troops, a battle is fought for its possession, or the defender may retreat to the city to initiate a siege. If the battle ends in defeat for the invaders, the banner immediately re-embarks and the ship is moved out to open sea in the same tile. If the ship is moved off, the defeated force cannot retreat and so is destroyed. I want to make sure, I would say that... can cities be resupplied during a siege by water, by ship? So if it's got a harbor, that's going to make it more difficult to starve out. So you should be able to bring in more baggage and also troops to a friendly city. And then you would also need to blockade the harbor to successfully siege a coastal city. We need some good rules for this, just like we need good RP role-playing rules. Daniel says, no, I think that it's that you can disembark in a harbor without spending your turn to do so. Ah, okay. You can embark and disembark in a harbor without spending. Okay, so it's easier to do that. Because it does seem like you should be able to put your troops ashore someplace else. It seems that way. Because it does say a banner entering a tile which contains a friendly ship in a harbor may be placed on that ship. Although harbors are associated with the cities, it can be assumed that the actual landing area may be somewhat slightly apart from the city docks themselves. With this in mind, it's possible to fight a tabletop war game to represent the invasion. That's like Athens and its harbor. However, a battle fought amongst the quays and warehouses of the docklands might make an interesting game if players are able to provide appropriate scenery. Possession of harbors. A force disembarking into an unoccupied city takes it over exactly as a land force would in the same situation. A force which defeats an enemy defending force assumes occupation of the city, and territory passes into the hands of the conquering empire. Independent harbors and ships. Independent coastal cities may have ships. This is determined by scouting. Independent ships remain in harbor. They will attempt to bring any ship entering the map tile to battle and will automatically attack any ships that enter the harbor. An independent ship driven off during a naval battle is destroyed. Okay, so now we have the winter season. So we've got two different modes of play. So we had the campaign season, which is played month by month, but then you take the winter turn is something totally different. So after the final turn of the campaign season, play ceases for the duration of winter. The winter may be inactive from the point of view of battles, but it's still busy time for the rulers of the various empires. Gains must be consolidated, fortifications built, armies built up, and strength re-equipped. Winter is the time to prepare for the next season's campaigning. The winter season. The winter season lasts for the equivalent of 6 ordinary campaign turns or 6 months. During this time, each player gathers revenue and allocates resources for the following turns. So that's nice, I suppose. That rather like in War of Kings, when you did bring in income and resources every turn, you don't have to worry about that every turn. You do that every basically 7 turns because you get 6 months of campaigning and then you handle all of the administration stuff. That could be more fun. Players will need to consult each other to resolve some procedures, but most calculations can be made independently by each player. It is a good idea to begin the winter season as soon as the final term of the campaign season is over while the players are gathered together. In any case, players should set a date when they can meet to complete their winter business prior to start the new campaign season. Once each player has completed his winter task, the next campaign season is ready to begin. During the winter phase, each player works through the following phases in the given order. The procedure and rules are given in detail in this section. So 1, autumnal equinox. Autumn spells can be cast. See equinox magic. Winter quarters. Banners retire to winter quarters. Events. Roll on the event chart to determine any unexpected occurrence within your empire. 4, revenue. Collect revenues due from the empire. 5, diplomacy. Players may consult with each other and make alliances or pacts. Players may attempt to ally with independent realms or plot intrigue against one another's realms. Prisoners can be ransomed. So this is doing something else to other empires, right? So I guess there is a little bit of that. I says we'll read more about that. Recruitment. Fresh troops can be raised and existing units upgraded. Oh, so you can't do that during your campaign season. So it's during the winter that fresh troops can be raised and existing troops are upgraded. Recovery. Raised settlements are tested to determine if they recover. Any character bearing wounds will also recover as appropriate. Construction. Fortresses or ships can be built. Okay, so you are building fortresses here. Baggage. Baggage is brought in preparation for the following season. Deployment. Banners and their baggage are repositioned in preparation for the new season. Espionage. Espionage results are worked out. Spring equinox. Spring spells can be cast. So what's this? The equinox and autumnal, the equinox magic. Okay, 1 and 12. So that's phase 1 and 12. Players of Warhammer Fantasy Battles will be fully acquainted with the effects of magic on the battlefield. Equinox magic is altogether different, as it's far more powerful and dangerous than battle magic. Equinox spells may only be attempted on 2 occasions during the year, the spring and autumnal equinoxes. The first occasion of the game where the magic may be used is the autumnal equinox at the beginning of the first winter season. These times are occasions of great magical flux, where the air fills with the sorcerous powers of the changing seasons. Equinox spells can only be cast from the Empire's capital, where its most sacred and arcane sanctuaries are located. Magical power is channeled through these ritual centers during the equinoxes, drawn by the conjunctions of planets and the mystic rite of the season, ready to be directed in the form of a spell. In order to cast during the spring equinox, it's necessary to deploy a powerful wizard inside the capital in preparation for the new campaign season. In order to cast a spell during the autumnal equinox, a powerful wizard must be in the capital at the end of the campaign season. If a wizard is not in the capital at the appropriate time, it is not possible to cast an equinox spell. In order to qualify as able to cast a spell, it's necessary to have a banner worth at least 500 points in the capital at the appropriate time. This banner is assumed to include a powerful wizard. Players with fully worked out Warhammer armies must have a level 25 wizard in the capital in order to qualify. I don't remember what a level 25 wizard was in terms of Warhammer. But if you're doing something more role-playing related, that's much easier. Each player may cast 1 equinox spell per turn, one after the other in a sequence determined by rolling a die or some other suitable method. The player can only cast 1 spell during the equinox. Oh, in the sequence determined randomly. Okay, I think we already said that. To determine which spell the player is cast, the player rolls a d12 and constructs the appropriate spring or autumn spell chart. Spring spells? So you cast randomly? To determine which spell is cast, the player rolls a d12 and consults the appropriate spring or autumn spell chart. If the player does not want to use the spell indicated, he may roll again, but must abide by the second result. Okay. A d12 is a 12-sided die numbered 1 to 12. Yes. The same effect can be achieved by rolling a d6 and noting that score and then rolling a second d6. Okay. The player chooses which target tile the spell will affect, and any tile, this may be any tile within 12 tiles of the player's capital other than the opponent's capital. The player then rolls 2d6. If the result is equal to or greater than the distance between the capital and the target tile, the spell takes full effect. If the result is less than the distance between the caster and the target tile, the spell fails. A failed spell has no effect. Tiles affected by a spell are marked with a spell counter and the effects noted separately. So these include such things as Abundance, Chaos Void, Hold, River, Magic Protection, Portents of Terror, Quake, Raise Dead, Rot, Scry, Storm, Summon, Host, Withershine. So the tile blossoms with life throughout the seasons. Its soil enjoys unheard of fertility and its population thrives. The tile will provide sustenance for any force in that tile, no matter how large. If raised, the tile yields an extra d6 baggage points for the tile of its type. Once raised, the spell is nullified. Raise Dead. This spell raises the dead, forming an army of d6 times 100 points of undead troops. The undead will automatically attack any force which is in the tile. If the tile is empty, the undead remain in the tile for the duration of the campaign season and will fight any force that moves into the tile. The undead are destroyed if defeated and forced to leave the tile. The undead army may be represented by a banner. The army does not require any substance. Also, when thinking about this style of game, and for some reason I can't ever find this box on my shelf because it does not look like an ordinary game because it's so old school. An old Avalon Hill game that is Wizard's Quest, which is kind of like a fantasy version of Risk, and I cannot see it over there. It should be sitting in that direction, but I cannot find it. But that game, I think about that game because it has let me put this on my notes, the Orcs and the Frenzy of Orcs. So it had like a non-player faction, which was orcs, and if there were too many orcs in if there was a territory that was unoccupied for some reason, the orcs would claim it. And the orcs would get more orcs every round, and if they'd ever hit like 4 orc units in a territory, they would frenzy, and they would go out and attack. The Orc Frenzy. But also, that game had deliberate victory conditions. Like, this is intended to be rather open-ended over here. But that game, you were trying to collect treasure. Like, you had to get the magic treasure items to be crowned king. So you had like your regalia that was split up over the island. And so you were sending your armies out to try to capture all of the regalia necessary to be king. So it wasn't necessarily about defeating everything of your opponents or something like that. You were trying deliberately to go to the places where your treasure might be held and capture it. I do like something like that because as much as open-ended games can be fun, and everyone's like, yeah, we're just going to play this open-ended campaign. But on the other hand, sitting down with some place where, all right, we're going to start the game, and then here's where we would start, and then here's where we end. So if you started with more, here, wait, I see it. I did a video on this game. See, I've got it turned, so it's just it's just got a blue edge, so it's difficult to identify. But it's this right here. Wizard's Quest. Anybody played this one? This was a good game. Still is a good game. I did a video on this before I was doing live videos. So Wizard's Quest, I think about that because it has defined victory conditions. And this one was also influential on War of Kings. So playing a game with more defined victory conditions could also be good. Oh, right here. How about now? So, right here. How about now? Probably back. So we were talking about, we were just looking at Withershins. You may not have heard that then. So Withershin says an enchantment is placed upon the tile, affecting any force within it during the campaign season. A force wishing to scout from the tile must determine its direction randomly using a d6 corresponding to each of the 6 tile sides. The force does not have to move in the direction scouted. It may remain stationary instead. So that one is like a confusion spell or something that goes on the different tiles. I said this has this is sort of like Saruman standing on top of Orthonk, casting magic out into the realm. Kind of has that feeling. It also has the connotations of like, you know, the druids getting together at their stone circle. Right here it says that you have to be at the capital, which kind of makes sense. But on the other hand, you could make it, I suppose, that different everybody could have like a different center of magic. So maybe your center of magic isn't your capital, although you might want it to be your capital, because I suppose that's going to be one of the least accessible places to the enemy. But it seems like you got to get the druids together over there at Stonehenge or something like that to be able to cast something out. See, storm. This tile is beset with storms of terrifying intensity. These storms last for the duration of the campaign season, making movement difficult and agriculture barely possible. Regardless of settlements within it, the tile provides no subsistence through the season. Ships within the tile are wrecked on the d6 score of 1 or 2 and driven into the neighboring tile on a score of 3 or more. Banners may move into the tile as normal, but any scouts attempting to scout from the tile are driven back on a score of 4, 5, or 6. Autumn spells include Blight Crop, Deluge, Trail of Howling Doom, Forge Magic, Inundation of Blood, Bumper Crop, Prosper, Reign of Madness, Call of Heroes, Break Siege, Surrounding Mists, Tornado of Peril. So Blight Crop, this spell is cast on a tile in the enemy empire, but affects the empire as a whole. Crop shrivel and fail, reducing the yield of the entire harvest. Deduct d6 from the revenue of the rival empire during the coming winter season. Reign of Madness. This spell may be cast against an enemy village. The entire population becomes infected with a whirling madness and dances off, never to be seen again. The tile counts as raised, and all banners in the tile are immediately destroyed. Well, yikes. Break Siege. This spell may be cast on a tile which is being besieged over the winter. Okay. The caster removes the entire force from any side, resolving the siege instantly by destroying either the defender or the attackers. If no sieges are in progress, the spell can be used to raise any unoccupied fortress in the target instead. Call of Heroes. This spell is cast on the capital and so always works. Heroes from all over the land are drawn towards the capital where they offer to aid to the players. The player may recruit an additional d6 times 200 points of heroes over the coming winter phase. Heroes are chosen from Warhammer armies as normal. The game I was thinking of is Empires by Hobby Products. I'm going to look that up in another Empires by Hobby Products. I brought up its, okay, I think I found its Board Game Geek page. Yep, that's it. Oh, we do have... Oh, wait, I think I have seen this. I've just looked up, so it's got the little guys on the hexes, on the hex bases. I might have looked at this a long time ago. I'm going to leave that up in a separate page to look that up again and get back after that, after this stream. Because I think I remember looking at guys that are like that. Okay. Somebody got some notes in here. So winter quarters. During the winter, this is like, during the winter quarters phase, every banner is removed from the map and replaced within its home realm in a tile which is capable of supporting it. Remember, the realm is your core 7 tiles. So you're always going back home. Remember, the realm only consists of 7 tiles you begin the game with, not your whole empire. The notable exceptions concern besieged and besieging forces. More on that later. So we have some errata here or something like this. In order for somebody wrote in here, in order for a banner to retire unhindered to winter quarters, it must be able to trace a clear route through its own side's territory to any unraised tile in its own realm. There must be no blocking mountains or river. A route may not be tread. It's probably not right. Or traced. A route may not be traced through enemy territory, unknown territory, or raised territory. If banners cannot trace a route back to its realm via its own territory, then it must make a special winter retreat before it moves to winter quarters. Hey, Sable Phoenix. I'm going to go a little bit longer. We've been having some fun. We started at the very beginning by taking notes about what we wanted out of a realm-type game. I've been enjoying going through this. So, booty. Any booty carried by the army is transferred to the capital. This includes any uncrewed engines, captured standards, war altars, and prisoners. Players fighting tabletop battles may include war engines among the Empire's recruits for the following seasons. Points must be paid for crew, but the engine itself is free. Prisoners are thrown into dungeons and can be ransomed during the diplomacy phase. Altars and standards are raised in the capital's throne room, where they remain reminders of past glories. Ships. Ships are repositioned in a friendly harbor during the winter quarter phase. Ships do not require subsistence over the winter. Ships must be able to trace a route back to their winter quarters through coastal tiles. Ships may pass over tiles occupied by enemy ships without penalty. Ships unable to reach a friendly harbor are destroyed. For example, if all harbors have been captured by the enemy. Raised tiles. Settlements which have been raised cannot provide subsistence over the winter. A raised port cannot harbor ships. Sieges. Any besieged force may elect to retire or maintain the siege over the winter. The force cannot divide so that any portion of its troops retire and others maintain the siege. If a siege is maintained, the players must divert baggage from the besieging force as described under Section 9 baggage. Winter retreat. A force which cannot trace a line of retreat to its winter quarters must, without crossing a river, a mountain, or a blocking enemy, must make a special winter retreat. As the force struggles over unfavorable terrain, it will lose troops in the ravages of the approaching winter. Each banner rolls a d6. Well, it could be completely destroyed. Or you're losing some number of points worth of troops. If you had different types of units, I would seem like I would want to have, okay, yeah, you've got like a banner out there on the table. And of course, that's kind of like I would want it to look kind of like, again, this is kind of like in an ideal way, the little army, kind of like those guys that we just saw on those hexes, or we just looked up for that game, Inner Light. But also like my armies that I made up for War of Kings. They're just on a little tile. And what's actually on the tile doesn't exactly matter. It's just got knights on there and footmen and whatever else. So that's like your banner right there. It would need some kind of number. And then like concealed from everybody else, you would have like a banner, like a page or something that has a the dashboard. That's what I was trying to think of. Some kind of like dashboard for all of your different ones that have like what banner that is, and then different like troops in there that represent exactly what's inside. So you wouldn't do it like Axis and Allies, where you have all these different troop types laid out on the board. You just put them on your trackpad, kind of, and then have a banner out there. And if necessary to reveal what's inside, you reveal something about the banner's composition to your enemies. Let's see. The Dragon Rage. Well, I kind of thought we would do this in two, but looks like we'll do this in 3. But let's look at winter events and then we'll go. So winter is both a time of rest and renewal for the armies, the empire, and its time of hardship for many of the empire's inhabitants. While seasoned campaigners toast themselves with ale and long fires, and bards now add verses to the heroic songs, for many the winter brings only privation and despair. Winter is a time when newly conquered people may be tempted into dissent, and when disease can wreak havoc among populations already weakened by hunger and war. The turning of the seasons can also brings with it the fear that the year might once again be the year of a dragon rage. Every few years, for reasons unknown, dragons come roaring from the heart of the mountains, bringing terror and destruction to princes and paupers alike. Those events and others are covered during the event phase and are represented by means of a test made once by each player. The player rolls 2d6 and consults the chart below. Oh, so 2 is Dragon Rage. From the heart of the mountain and the center of the world, great dragons come roaring forth to raise the land and strike terror into all who lie in their path. We'll have to see how that's done. Because this is another one of those games where I would say you don't want to just lose by random chance. By the time you're doing all of this, you don't want to lose by random chance. So if you can just happen to roll something and get everything eaten by a dragon, that sounds potentially bad. I don't know how it works out here. But I would also be carefully looking here about how much of this is losing due to randomness. Well, it could be a hand of cards. Now you could do it like a hand of cards, or I suppose you could also do it like I was thinking that you could do backpacks in RPGs with cards. So if you had if you had like an envelope, if you had different envelopes that were numbered. So you've got your banner out there on the board that's numbered, like a 4. And then you've got some little envelope that stores cards that also has a 4. And then you just put cards in there that represent the different units that are in there. That could also do that. That could also work. Then you could just keep them beside you, and your enemy wouldn't be seeing them, and you wouldn't have to worry about having a dashboard full of miniatures. Although a dashboard full of miniatures could be fun. But you're right. You could do it with cards. So many things to do. Especially if you didn't actually have to, you weren't putting, because even if you went to a Axis and Allies style battle, you don't have to put out miniatures. You could put out cards. You totally could do that. Innerlight says, Warhammer is very narratively driven. They wanted to catch the feeling of grisly, grim world, and they do that through the horrible things happening to horrible people using random rolls. I mean, I can see that. I can. Peasant revolt. Peasants refuse to pay your entirely reasonable taxes. Ungrateful scum. You have not protected them from the authoritarian. Have you not protected them from the authoritarian rule of your enemies? Lose D6 crowns of revenue this year. Rebellion. The underlying rebels against the underlings, I guess. Rebels against your rule. Randomly select a fortress of the empire, which becomes an independent settlement. Any troops in the tile are removed. The fortress yields no revenue this year. Now, see, what I would want to do is this is the kind of stuff, it could happen to your own culture, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking could happen to other culture, is more likely to happen if it's somebody else's culture that it would rebel. But see, this is also having you bring all of your banners back. But one way to prevent that would be saying, all right, over the winter or whenever, I'm going to keep that village or whatever it is garrisoned by my troops to reduce the likelihood or eliminate the likelihood of rebellion. I'd want to play with that. Plague ravages the land. Now, we've got lots of different things that can happen to us from the D&D Cyclopedia and stuff like that. And even the GURPS windfalls or disasters and windfalls and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we could add in here. Increased revenue, plentiful harvest, famine, treachery, dragon rage again on 12. Okay. Well, then tomorrow, I guess we will start looking at the dragon rage. Tomorrow's Monday. I got a lot I got to do. I got to prepare for some Kickstarter stuff. I also got to go cut the grass. I'm going to go actually do physical activity. I'm going to cut grass for a little bit, and then come back and try to be productive. Try to really be productive. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to think about this more because I love playing games like this. It's been so long since I played games like this. I like role-playing games too, but I also like the kingdom type games like this as well. So, all right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow morning. And then don't forget, tomorrow on the Burr Network, tomorrow night. So we got a stream tomorrow night, but it's not on my channel. I've been invited to be on the Burr Network. I'm being interviewed over there about Rebavania and Goodnight Sword. So tomorrow we will have 2 streams, but the second one will be on the Burr Network. Let me, look in Discord. It's in the announcements. The link to that is in the Discord. I will also post an announcement there right before we're ready to go live Monday night. So we can all go over and see everybody on the Burr Network and hang out. So everybody have a great day. Be creative, be productive, and I will see you in the morning. Later.